Tov, everyone. Erev Tov. Welcome to the House of Seven Beggars. It is Monday night. It is 8 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, here in the diaspora. This is the House of Seven Beggars. Therefore, it must be Zeyde Story Corner. Of course, it is. So, we weren't on last week. We ran into some technical issues. You kicked the computer. Well, I didn't kick it. I mean, I was trying to clean up, and yeah, I did bump it, and I did kind of move the USB out of the plug for the mixer, and we couldn't get the sound. And you kicked it. Yeah, well, okay. So I kicked the computer, and I kicked the plug out, and didn't notice it, and it took me a whole day. Yeah, okay, a whole day. To figure out what was going on, but we're back now. So yeah, you ruined the big promo. Well, yeah, that's true. We had this whole thing worked out to actually introduce, because Zeyde had some work, some dental work done to kind of fix his mouth, and you look good now. Yeah, it does look good. Yeah, it does look a lot better. Anyway, so we had this whole shtick worked out. We were going to come out, and he was going to refuse to talk, and I was going to convince him to say something, and it was going to be a whole different voice. Yeah, it was. It was going to be a whole different voice. We thought it was very funny. We laughed a lot. Yeah, we did. We laughed a lot about it, and we didn't get to do it. So Shabbat comes along. We do the announcements. It wouldn't be respectful for the Shabbat to actually do that whole shtick during Shabbat. So you got to hear Zayda's voice as it is, and so the thing that we had planned just did not happen. So, probably a reason. Yeah, okay, yeah. As we say, all things are for our own good. So obviously there was a reason why this was to happen. So anyway, let us see who we have in the chat room. We have Richard Rottenberg is with us, our resident maestro. That's right, our resident maestro. Who has a new album coming out, and I'm going to let him make that announcement once he's ready to release it. We will promote it on the show. We will show you the album cover. Maybe we'll do some of the songs from the album. It's an amazing album, really an amazing album. I think this is probably ranks up there with the Shimon History Project. Yeah, I think so. I think it actually comes up to that level and maybe even surpasses it. But you will have to be the judge. So anyway, Richard is with us. Let's see who else we have with us. I think I saw Kelsey or Veronica. Veronica Port, Marshall Reese, Donald Willinger, Kelsey Lynn, Simon, and let's see, who else? Colleen, and those watching in the background. Yeah, those always watching in the background. We know there are a few of them that they don't log into the chat. Some of them are watching on their phone, so they don't have the ability to log into the chat. But they're watching every week. Yeah, they're watching every week. So Ralph, particularly, yes, Ralph Gerber does actually watch on his phone, and we know he's out there. So salute to you. Okay, so we left off when we went on break for the summer. We were reading the silly tales from Helm, and we are going to pick up where we left off. And let's see, The Silly World of Helm, a treasury of Jewish wit and wisdom. So Shall we get to it? Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, yeah. I think we've wasted enough time talking about the things that did not work out for us, and well, let's get to it then. Okay, let's get to it. So let me get you on your camera. I love that I have my own camera. Okay, here we go. So, are you getting comfortable? Yeah, yes, I am. Yes, I am. I want to turn so you're a little better into the frame of the picture. Okay, I look good here. Okay, okay. You can stop moving now, please. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, so we are going to pick up where we left off. These stories, well, this first one is called The Foolish List. Okay, so here comes. In the village of Helm, the old sage was considered the wisest man of all men. So it was not a surprise when Motel the farmer stopped by the shul where the old sage was preparing a list of names on a piece of paper. "What are you writing?" asked Motel. "I am making up a list of fools and a list of wise men in our community," explained the old sage. Motel looked over his shoulder and exclaimed, wait a minute. I noticed you have my name on the list of fools. I thought you admired my business sense." The old sage smiled. "I do admire your keen business sense. But last week, you sold your whole crop of grain to that merchant from Minsk on credit. That is why I put your name on the list of fools." "But why?" pleaded Motel. "Why?" replied the sage. "First of all, that was the first time you did business with that man, right?" "Right," replied Motel. "And you extended him credit for more than 2,000 kopecks. Is that correct?" replied the sage. "Yes, but how does that merit me in position on the page of fools?" asked Motel. "First of all, you do not know this man. Secondly, he lives many miles from here, and it is extremely possible you may never see him again, and therefore you will probably never get your money." "Ah," exclaimed Motel. "Well, what would you say if the merchant returned in a few days with the money? Then what would you do?" asked Motel confidently. "Oh," smiled the sage, "in that case, I would remove your name from the list of fools and replace it with his." So, to this very day in Helm, when a Helmite sells to an out-of-towner on credit, his name is automatically placed at the head of the list of fools. Okay. This next one is called The Foolish Souls. In case you are wondering by now how it is that Helm came to be a village so many wise fools, listen to this age-old legend. One day, an angel was carrying 2 sacks of souls. One sack was filled with wise souls, and the other with foolish souls. It was intended of the Creator to fairly and equally distribute the wise and foolish souls throughout the world. But as the angel was flying over the village of Helm, he flew a little too low, accidentally snagging the sack with the foolish souls on a tree branch, causing it to rip open. Lo and behold, all the foolish souls spilled out into the village of Helm. To be sure, they were good and kindly people, but their reasoning, what can I say? They were foolish souls. So, for example, one of the residents of Helm decided to make a trip to a neighboring village. To go to the next village, I will need a donkey, he thought to himself. The Helmite walked along the road until he came to a farm where there were a number of donkeys grazing in the field. He knocked on the farmer's door and said, "I have come to purchase a donkey." "And why do you want a donkey?" the farmer questioned. "Because I must go to the next village," said the foolish soul. "Indeed," exclaimed the farmer. "Since the next village is 4 miles away, wouldn't you be better off buying 2 donkeys? You could get there twice as fast." The foolish soul scratched his head and agreed. The farmer, also a foolish soul from Helm, thought for a moment. "Listen, if 2 donkeys get you there twice as fast, then with 2 more donkeys, you will get there 4 times as fast." The foolish soul agreed and purchased the 4 donkeys. Just as he was gathering up the donkeys, the farmer said, "Since you have already purchased 4 donkeys, let me give you 1 for free." The foolish soul was elated and thanked the farmer. As he gathered up the 5 donkeys, he exclaimed, "How wonderful! Now with 5 donkeys, having a distance of only 4 miles to travel, I will be back 1 hour before I start." And so it was. The foolish soul returned to his home with the 5 donkeys, convinced that this was the only way to travel and save time. Okay. This story is called The Foreman. Once upon a time, here we go with the once upon a time again. Okay, let's just read the stories as they are. Okay, but you think they could mix it up just a little bit? Okay, well, anyway. Once upon a time, in the little village of Helm, Yonkel went to the old sage to seek his advice. "Tell me, dear sage," he said, "I want to earn my way in the world. What must I do?" The old sage stroked his beard in deep contentment and contemplation and said, "To earn your way, you must go to the big city and get a job. There you will earn much money and become an important person." So Yankel packed his little sack and set out for the big city. After a few weeks, a little donkey cart came rolling down the dusty road to Helm, and in the driver's seat was Yankel. He pulled up before the home of the old sage and knocked on the door. When the sage saw Yankel, he gasped, "What are you doing here? I thought you went to the big city to earn your way." "That's exactly what I did. I went to the big city and got a job. But nothing worked out." "What do you mean nothing worked out?" asked the sage. "Well, the first job I got was in a grocery store," explained the uncle. "The second day I was there, the boss asked me to lay eggs in the window. Now, anyone knows a person can't lay eggs, so I quit right there on this spot." "You did absolutely right," replied the old sage. "After all, who could expect a person to lay eggs in a window? If you were a chicken, I could understand. That was absolutely ridiculous." "So I did right?" asked the uncle. "Absolutely." "Well, then, I went to a factory where I got another job. The very first day, they told me to make a Venetian blind. Now I ask you, is that a job for a person like myself? What have I got against the Venetians? Why should I want to make anybody blind? So immediately I quit." "And you did well," replied the sage. "Then I went to another street, and there I took a job in a factory. The very first day there, they told me my job was to produce a fly paper. Now I ask you, is that a job with a future? How many flies could read? So why should I waste my time on something that was doomed to failure?" "And rightfully so," said the sage. "And then I went out and got a job with a construction company. But after a few days, I was fired by the foreman." "What's a foreman?" asked the old sage. "A foreman," Yunkel began, "is a fellow who does the hiring. He does no work at all. He is there to see everybody else does their work. He stands around all day doing nothing. That is a foreman." "That's very interesting," commented the old sage. "So why did the foreman fire you?" "He was jealous because after a few days everyone thought I was the foreman." I know some people like that. I figured you were going to say something like that. Okay. This is a good one, huh? Yeah, that was a good one. Fly paper, making a paper for a fly. Ah, how ridiculous. Okay, so this story is called The Gleaning of Knowledge. Very impressive title, huh? Yeah, it is, yeah. We shall see, won't we? Okay, so once upon a time, here we go again with the once upon a time. Okay, anyway. Once upon a time in the little village of Helm, a stranger stopped Mottel the tailor and said, "I have heard wonderful stories about the great wisdom that flows from this village." I wonder where he heard that from. I don't know. Maybe from somebody in the village. Yeah, that could be very true. Okay, anyway. Mother beamed and explained, the wisdom in our village comes from the great sage of Helm. Wonderful, replied the stranger. I must meet your great sage to learn as much as I can. So Mottle took the stranger to the home of the old sage of Helm. I would be more than happy to make a sizable donation to your shul, exclaimed the stranger to the old sage, if you could teach me as much Talmud knowledge as possible in one day, since that is how long I can remain in your village. The old sage laughed. Ha, 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 ha. That's the laugh of an old sage. I guess you would know. All right. Okay, anyway. Now you make me lose my place. I'm sorry. The old sage laughed and said it was impossible to learn Talmud in one day. But the stranger insisted, and, true to his word, he made a generous contribution to the shul. If you insist, replied the old sage. Now, listen carefully. If two men enter a building through a chimney, and, once inside, one of them has a dirty face, and the other a clean face, which one will wash his face? The stranger smiled confidently and replied, Why, the one with the dirty face would wash his face. The old sage shook his head from side to side. You say you cannot learn Talmud that quickly. If one had a dirty face, the one with the clean face would look at the one with the dirty face and immediately would wash his own face, thinking his face was dirty too. However, the one with the dirty face would look at the one with the clean face and think his own face was perfectly clean. Makes sense, right? Oh, said the stranger, I see. Very interesting. Now I have learned Talmud. The old sage put his hand on the stranger's shoulders and sighed, My friend, you still have much to learn. You must return soon to glean greater knowledge. After all, how could you possibly believe that when two men crawled down a chimney, only one would have a dirty face? And from that day on, in the village of Helm, it is written that when anyone wanted to learn the wisdom of the old sage of Helm, they had to spend at least 2 days to make certain they learned everything the old sage knew. Okay. Thinking that his face was dirty too. Okay. We must turn the page. Okay, here we go. Okay, I think this has a number of different iterations. Yeah, I think this one actually does. This one is the goat. Okay. The wise old sage of Helm took ill. His doctor said, If you are to recover, you must drink a glass of goat's milk every day. So the friends of the sage set out for the next village to purchase a goat. When they arrived at the goat seller's home, they said, We want a goat that gives healthful milk. The goat seller brought out a goat and said, This nanny goat gives delicious milk. They paid the goat seller and headed back to Helm. On the way, they stopped at a small inn. They tied their new goat to the post outside the inn, and they refreshed themselves. The innkeeper decided he was going to play a joke on them. He secretly took the billy goat from the barn and tied it in place of their goat. When the sage's friends were refreshed, they untied the goat and headed for Helm. When they arrived, they shouted, "Here is a goat that gives delicious milk to bring our sage back to health." But when the old sage's wife tried to milk the goat, she screamed, "Silly ones! You have brought me a billy goat when I asked for a nanny goat. Don't you know a billy goat cannot give milk? Take it back and make certain you get a nanny goat this time." So the sage's friends started back to the village to the goat seller. On the way, they stopped off at the same inn to drown their sorrows in some spirits. While they were drinking, the innkeeper decided to continue his joke. He went to the barn, brought out the nanny goat the sage's friends had really purchased, and switched it with the billy goat that was tied to the post. When the sage's friends finished drinking, they left for the goat seller's farm, dragging the nanny goat behind them. When they had arrived, they cried, "Thief! We told you we wanted a goat that could give milk. Instead, you sold us a billy goat." The goatkeeper looked at the goat, grabbed the pail, and began to milk the nanny goat. "Brothers," the goat seller said, "this is a nanny goat. Look at all the milk she just gave." Is it possible that the sage's wife did not understand goats? The men thought. So, on the way back, they stopped at the inn once more. When they were drinking, the innkeeper sneaked out and switched the goats again. When they returned to Helm, the sage's wife looked at the goat and screamed, "Fools! This is still a billy goat." And so it went. So they went to the old sage himself. How could this be? When they left the goat seller, the goat was a nanny goat. But when they arrived in Helm, it was a billy goat. The old sage thought for a moment, then explained. Apparently, when a nanny goat comes into Helm, it becomes a billy goat. So, my dear friends, I will just have to get well on cow's milk instead. Okay. There's another couple of versions of this, but we will get to those versions after we take our break. We take a 6-minute break, and then we return. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be back in 6.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
It's intermission time, folks, so hurry, hurry, hurry. Step right over to our refreshment center for the most extravagant array of refreshment goodies ever assembled under one roof. Enjoy breathtaking, mouth-watering goodies, everything from a snack to a delicious full meal. At our refreshment center, you'll find a large variety of goodies to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, or your sweet tooth. So hurry, hurry, hurry. Visit our refreshment center now. The show starts in 5 minutes. The show starts in 4 minutes. The show starts in 3 minutes. The show starts in 2 minutes. The show starts in 1 minute. And now, on with the show.
And we are back, friends. Here we are. Okay. So, we were leaving off on the second part of the goat story. I think this actually has 3 iterations. I guess we'll have to wait and see, won't we? Okay, so here it is. This is the goat version 2. Once upon a time, in the silly world of Helm, well, at least they switched it up a little bit, there lived a Melamed, a teacher of children, and his wife. One very fine day, the Melamed said to his wife, "I would like very much to have some blintzes this evening." "Blintzes you want?" she snapped bitterly. "Crap you'll have. Where am I going to get milk to make cheese for the blintzes?" she questioned. "Indeed, that is a problem," said the Melamed. "If you really want blintzes," she exclaimed, the wife, "why don't you go to the next village and purchase a goat? A goat can give milk, and I can then make some cheese." "Good idea," exclaimed the Melamed. He put on his coat and headed for the door. Just then his wife called out, "And make certain you purchase a nanny goat, because a nanny goat is the only kind of goat that gives milk." The Melamed turned sharply and exclaimed, "Of course!" and he walked out into the streets of Helm. Now, as we all know, Helm was a village of fools, and the Melamed was not one of the brighter fools in the tiny village. He walked along the road to the next village. There he located a farm and asked the farmer's wife if she had a goat that could give delicious milk so that his wife could make him some blintzes. "Do I have a goat that gives milk?" the farmer's wife laughed. "I have a goat that gives 3 quarts of milk and sometimes even more." "Then it is agreed. For 10 zlotes you will sell me this wonderful goat," exclaimed the Melamed as he placed a rope around the animal's neck to lead it home. When he reached the halfway point, he decided to stop off at the local tavern to have a little refreshment. Inside the tavern, he told his friends that he had just purchased a goat in the next village, and now he was going home to a delicious meal of blintzes. As he spoke, 2 of the Helmites decided to play a trick on the Melamed. They took another goat from the barn. This goat was a billy goat that, of course, does not give milk. When the Melamed came out of the tavern, he took a rope and continued to drag the goat back to Helm. "I'm home," he called out to his wife, "and I have brought you a she-goat that will give us milk." The wife came out and took one look at the goat. "Dear husband," she exclaimed, "I sent you for a she-goat, and you bring back a he-goat. Can't you tell the difference?" The Melamed examined the goat. If you could turn the page, please. I'm working on it. And commented, "You're absolutely right. Why, that farmer's wife tried to fool me. I will bring this goat right back and reprimand her severely." He grabbed the rope and began leading the goat away from Helm. In a few minutes, he was at the halfway point. Once more, he decided to stop at the tavern for a little refreshment. While he was in the tavern, the practical joker sneaked out the back, took the original she-goat and exchanged it back for the he-goat that he was to return. I can hardly wait to see the face when he reaches the farmer, the jokers laughed. Well, when he came out of the tavern, he grabbed the rope that was around the goat's neck and dragged it to the farmer's wife in the next village. When he reached the farmer's wife, he exclaimed angrily, "I come all this distance to purchase a she-goat for my blintzes, and you sell me a he-goat. Now any fool knows a he-goat does not give milk. So would you please exchange my he-goat for a she-goat?" The farmer's wife took one look at the goat and began to laugh. "My friend, I sold you a she-goat. Look for yourself." The Malamé became embarrassed when he saw it was indeed a she-goat. "I apologize," he said, red-faced. "Apparently, my wife does not see as well as she used to. She thought it was a he-goat, and I never thought to look for myself." He grabbed the rope once more and led the goat back toward the village of Helm. When he had gone half the distance, he was thirsty once more and stopped at the local tavern for some refreshments. While in the tavern, the jokers quickly exchanged the goats again, substituting the he-goat for the she-goat. In a few minutes, the Malamé came out of the tavern, pulling the he-goat back to Helm. When he arrived at his house, he called out to his wife, "Oh, wife, I have returned with a goat who will give us milk for my blintzes." The wife looked at the goat. She put her hands to her head. "You fool! Can't you tell the difference between a he-goat and a she-goat?" The Malamé was angry. "It is you who are mistaken. When I brought the goat back to the lady laughed at me because it was indeed a she-goat." "Look," shouted his wife, "tell me that is a she-goat or a he-goat." The Malamé looked at the goat. He turned pale. "You're right. It is indeed a he-goat. But how is this possible? I saw with my very own eyes that it was a she-goat. But now, when I look, it is indeed a he-goat. Astonishingly!" He scratched his head, then declared, "Stay here and hold the goat. I will call the sage of Helm. He is the only one in the world who can solve this riddle." And so he ran off in the distance to call the old sage of Helm. "So you see, dear sage," he exclaimed, "when I entered Helm, it was indeed a she-goat. This I saw with my very own eyes. But by the time I reached my house, it turns into a he-goat." The old sage was impressed and began to think. And he turned and announced, "My friend, You are so right. This is one of the strangest things to happen in our village of Chelm. Apparently, there is something in our air that changes she-goats into he-goats, and he-goats into she-goats when they enter Chelm. Therefore, I will issue a decree from this day on. When a he-goat enters the village of Chelm, it will be called, when a she-goat enters the village of Chelm, it will be called a he-goat. And when a he-goat enters the village of Chelm, it will be called a she-goat. And there they solved the problem. If all problems are so easy to be solved, huh? Okay. This story is called The Golden Coins. This one, I like this one a lot. Yeah, I know. You seem to enjoy this one quite a bit. Well, of course, it's a good, funny story. Okay, so instead of just going on and on, we tell the story then. Okay. The Golden Coins. It was a long journey from the nearest village to Helm. Hence why everybody has to stop at that tavern full of jokers, eh? Yeah, I guess so. But the old farmer walked the distance, dragging his scrawny old cow behind him. He had lost his farm, and all he had left was 2 gold coins and the tired-looking hulk of a cow he was bringing to Helm to sell. It was a hot day, so he sat down under a tree to rest just a short distance from the heart of the village. As he lay down, the 2 gold coins he had in his pocket fell out on the ground. The cow, also exhausted from the long journey, decided to lay down in the shade of the tree next to the old farmer. As the cow's legs folded under her, she lay down on the 2 gold coins. A short time later, the sage of Helm happened to pass by. He saw the old farmer sleeping with the cow next to him. As he drew close, he saw... Are you done? Yes, I'm done. I was just clearing my throat. You are finished, though? Yes, I am. I'm sorry. Okay, so... As he drew close, he saw a bug near the cow and leaned over to brush it away. He's a nice guy, huh? As he touched the cow got up with a start, kicking the 2 gold coins. It appeared as if the coins had just come out of the cow. "My goodness," cried the old sage of Helm. "A cow that gives gold coins? I would not have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my very own eyes." He quickly ran back to the village to tell all about this magnificent creature. "I saw it with my own eyes," he said softly to one man. The man turned to his wife. "Indeed, I saw a bucket full of gold coins come from the cow." The wife turned to her neighbor and exclaimed, "A wagon load of gold was taken from the cow. This is why it is sleeping, and the master is so exhausted from picking up all the gold. Indeed, a miracle." "We must buy this cow for our village," the old sage shouted. With this cow, we will end poverty forever. All we have to do is feed the cow, and every day we will have a new supply of money." As they spoke, the old farmer woke up. He had traveled this distance to sell his old cow. And to his surprise, half the village was there to meet him. He looked around in bewilderment. "Do you want to sell your cow?" the old sage asked softly. The man, half asleep, nodded that he would. "I will offer you 100 rubles for her," exclaimed the sage. 100 rubles for this cow? The poor farmer thought he had shook his head in disbelief, thinking that he must still be dreaming. "What a fortune! My cow is thin and scrawny, and is barely held together by skin and bones." But before he could answer, another voice called out, "I will make it 1,000 rubles." Amazed by their generosity, the old farmer kept shaking his head from side to side in disbelief. Every time he shook his head, they offered him more. "Quick, run to the bank and withdraw all the money we have," the sage shouted. "Ladies, return to your homes and get all your jewelry. We must purchase this cow. This man is wise. He realizes the value of the creature. Maybe with money and jewelry we can sway him." Soon, a wagon load of money and jewels were brought from the bank. "Here, sir, is our final offer," the sage shouted. "All we have. Will you sell us your cow?" "By all means, you can have the cow," the farmer shouted, as he grabbed the reins of the horse and pulled the wagon with all the money and jewels. He gave the reins a snap, and the horse began to gallop away. The villagers of Helm were overjoyed. They could not wait until the farmer was out of sight. They gently walked the tired old cow back to their village. However, instead of placing her in a barn, she was taken into the living room in the house of the sage of Helm. Such a creature must have the best of care. She will give gold coins and end poverty forever, the old sage announced. They fed the cow the finest hay and grain. As the sun went down, all the wise men from the village tried to crowd into the living room to see the cow that gave gold coins. The old sage smiled and began to milk the cow with great ceremony. Of course, he was expecting gold coins. But lo and behold, only plain milk came out. "Milk!" they shouted. "The cow must be ill. Or maybe we're doing something wrong. Let the cow rest. We must find that old farmer and find out what we are doing wrong." A messenger quickly mounted the horse and began racing down the road. The messenger caught up with the old farmer as he drove the wagon of money and jewels. "Please help us," the messenger shouted at him. "How?" questioned the old farmer. "She does not give gold coins to us as she did with you. For us, she only gives milk." "Oh, Oh, thought the old farmer to himself, so they thought my old cow gave gold coins. They wanted to trick me into selling such a wonderful creature, he thought. Because of this, I will play a trick on them. He turned to the messenger and asked, "Did you feed her hay and grain?" "Of course," the messenger replied, "the finest." "You see, that's the trouble," the farmer said with a straight face. "You see, this cow was raised on chicken soup." That's right, chicken soup. That is why she gave gold coins. Of course, it took me many years to get her to eat chicken soup, but now she does. You may have spoiled her now by giving her hay and grain, but you can try. If she refuses the soup, don't give up. Don't give her anything else, just chicken soup. When the messenger returned to Helm, he told them that what the old farmer had said. They were amazed. They all went out and began preparing chicken soup. "Put in 10 chickens. This cow deserves the best," the old sage announced. "After we get the chicken soup in her, she will give golden coins. You see, since chicken soup is golden yellow, that is why she gives golden coins," the sage explained. Oh, how everyone marveled at his wisdom. And so, when the soup cooled, they brought it to the old cow. But the cow turned away from the soup. "It's just as the old farmer said," the messenger declared. "We spoiled her with hay and grain. He said it would take time, but to give her nothing but chicken soup." And so the days passed, and every day they placed freshly made chicken soup in front of the cow. But each day she turned away, because we all know a cow will only eat hay or grain. Chicken soup is for people. After the 7th day, the old cow could barely move. She was so starved. With nothing for food, in desperation, she leaned over and tried to sip the soup. But she was so weak, she just fell to her final rest. "What a catastrophe!" they all shouted. "Just when we have her trained to eat chicken soup, she goes and dies on us." The old sage tugged at his beard and thoughtfully announced, "It was meant to be. We were greedy in trying to fool the poor farmer. We gave him all our money and jewels, when in reality he did not even need it, because with that cow he would want for nothing. Therefore, we were punished from above to teach us a lesson to be satisfied with what we already have." Oh, that is a wonderful story. That is a good story. That is one that should be read on Yom Kippur. And speaking of Yom Kippur, okay, Rosh Hashanah this week, and no Zeyde Story Corner next week, because we will be in the Yamin Noraim, the days of awe, and it is not proper to be telling silly stories during this period. So we will take a week off, And after Yom Kippur, we will return. So, don't forget that on Wednesday night is the Torah study with Rabbi A and Rabbi Reuven. And then on Friday night, Erev Rosh Hashanah. And then Rosh Hashanah day 1. And then on Sunday, Rosh Hashanah day 2. Don't be late. Don't miss the service. Okay. Until the next time, dear friends, we will say, Shana Tova and Laila Tov.